Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Mizat Hashem. We're blessed to have an amazing discussion today with the one and only tour guide Aaron Shaffier from Beersheba. Amazing tour guide for many years here in the Holy Land of Israel. And God willing, we're going to discuss what he's up to nowadays, as well as the projects that he's doing, the guiding in general, and God willing. Welcome. Oh,
hold on.
Hey.
We want to.
We would like to see you.
Hi, Elio. How are you?
Welcome.
Shalom Aleichem.
Baruch Hashem. Thank God, everything is good. Very excited to have you on and join us for the discussion today. I didn't even really think about it, but you see how much Hashem runs our life in Ashkecha Pratit. I wanted to have you on in general just to discuss the different things that you're working on, and then I didn't realize that it was Parashat Shlach. I kind of escaped my mind. It wasn't part of the thought process, but it completely works that we're dealing with this holy parasha.
What are you trying to? You're trying to associate me with the Meraglim or what?
God forbid. If any of them, you're sure we knew in Kalev ben Yefune.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Amazing. Welcome on. If you want to go ahead and just, let the people know a little bit who you are and what your
Aaron Shaffier, also known here on Instagram as Tour. I am who specializes in Tanach sites, biblical sites, and I am also a Torah scribe. So first time I write Torah scrolls, mezuzahs, tefillin, etc. And also I'm involved in my wife. She writes books and courses that teach people to read Hebrew. So that's a little about me. I live in Beersheba. I'm a father of 9 and a grandfather of 1.
I didn't know that. Didn't know you're a grandfather. It's amazing. It's quite a collection of skills, not only to be able to connect people to Eretz Yisrael, but also to Torah Yisrael, to the mitzvah of Am Yisrael. It's a big honor to have you on. I'm very excited for this, and let's just get started. We'll touch hopefully on your work a little bit later with the things that you're doing now. But get started, go straight into the Kodesh, and what is going on in this week's parasha, Parashat Shlach. Moshe Rabbeinu sends 10 different scouts to seek out the land of Israel, to bring back a report of the land of Israel, and in a way, it kind of causes us to stay out of the land of Israel for another 39 years, another 40 years, wandering in the desert just because of the report. If you could maybe just break it down for us a little bit of what's exactly going on in the parasha for those that are listening.
One small correction: Moshe sent 12 spies. Of course, we talk about the 10 because the 10 are the ones that caused the problem, but he sent 12, and of course, 2 of them came back with a positive report, which are Yehoshua ben Nun and Kalev ben Yefune, and the other 10 came back with a negative report. So just to back up a little bit, the parsha starts by saying that God spoke to Moshe and he said to them, "Shalach lecha anashim v'yaturu et eretz Canaan." Send for yourself. Shalach lecha, send for yourself people and let them spy out the land of Canaan. And the rabbinic commentaries, they immediately jump on the word for yourself. Shalach lecha, send for yourself. And they say that God isn't commanding, he's not obliging the people of Israel to send spies. He's saying, if you want to check me, if you want full disclosure, you want to confirm what I'm promising you, how good this land is, you can send spies if you want, right? And the people could have just as well said, no, it's okay, we trust you, God. We don't need spies. If you say it's a good land, we're ready to accept it as is, blindly. But of course, the people opted into this option. The question, Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses is the one who took God up on the offer, but I would say that he's probably more doing so because he senses that the people want it, and he wants transparency. God wants transparency, and Moses wants transparency. It's a relationship. God is trying to take these people who are slaves and make us into a people who are in a free and open relationship with God. And he doesn't want it to be through coercion or anyone to be able to claim that they didn't know what they're getting themselves into. So he says, you want to go check it out for yourself? Go right ahead. And the 12 spies go. And of course, other than the two that came back with a good report, the other 10 come back and say, this land is full of giants. It's a land that devours its inhabitants. We were like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and so were we in their eyes.
Pretty intense. I mean, thank God they picked a kosher animal at least to be, but it's we see this reality. There's even nowadays, if we bring it back into the times that we're living in, people have this vision of Israel. I know I had it before I ever came here. First got here at 17, but I had it in the U.S. Even though my dad was in the military here and had experienced and lived in Israel for me growing up without ever coming here, I thought what I saw on TV. I thought what I heard in the news, that it's this crazy, violent, scary place. And then you come and you live here, and it's like pretty much Noam Elion. It's like the most comfortable, most tranquil place on the day-to-day. And obviously, like everywhere else, things happen. But what does this? I mean, obviously, the main teaching is that first, I'm taking you to the Holy Land. You should trust me. I'm Hashem. I'm always going to do good for you, and I'm always going to bring you to a proper place. But then there's this side of, like, we look at things in life, and we see a different reality. We see some kind of scary reality, even though Hashem promised us. Like, how does that happen in Eretz Yisrael? That's meant to be this amazing place.
Well, I think ultimately. Because the spies bring the bad report, people cry and mourn. God, of course, causes that whole generation to die out in the desert, and only their children are able to come. And I think that the lesson of that is that if you come to the land of Israel with a slave mentality, the land will indeed spit you out. You can't be absorbed into the land. There's only one country in the world where if you immigrate to it, instead of saying welcome or saying may you have an easy time or whatever, we have a particular ichul, how do you say it? Like, not a greeting, but a wish, a blessing. You bless someone when they make aliyah. Do you know what it is, aliyah? What do you say to someone who just made aliyah? You say to them what? Klita tova.
Klita tova.
What's klita tova mean?
A good absorption.
A good absorption, right? And we have a ministry of absorption. Misrad HaKlita, Ministry of Absorption of Immigrants. It's a very strange term, but it's a very true term. The land either absorbs you or it spits you out. The land of Israel isn't just a piece of real estate. The land of Israel is a spiritual madriga. It's a spiritual. I just want to acknowledge, I see some old friends coming in here on the chat. So shalom to everybody, Joel and others. So anyways, the land of Israel is a spiritual level. It's a completely different essence than the rest of the created world. And someone who isn't in the right wavelength to be absorbed by the land gets spit out by the land. And so if you say to me, everyone told me how horrible it is, and I got here and I'm like, wow, this is great, that means, Baruch Hashem, that to your credit, you are on the right wavelength for the land to absorb you. And the people who come, and then you see they run away a year later with their tail between their legs saying, there's long lines at the government ministries, and people cut line in the supermarket, and it's very difficult. Or like one person once said to me, I asked them, why did you leave Israel? They said, everything's in Hebrew there.
It's so sad. It's so funny because it's so ridiculous, but yeah, I can believe it.
That's an extreme case, but the point is, you have to come here. You have to come here with understanding that you're coming here for aliyah. We call it aliyah, to ascend to the land of Israel. If you're not ready to sort of leave what you're used to, and move up spiritually, the land does pushes people out. And the little things, that's the thing. It's always the little things that push people out. The smallest things.
Yeah, it's with that, yeah, on the one hand, it does go well for those people, at least the people that come and they put their roots in. It feels amazing to be in the land of Israel. On the other hand, I've always kind of connected to Rabbi Shimon in the Gemara when in Brachot, I think it's the first time Rabbi Shimon was mentioned. He says that 3 good gifts were given to Israel, right? The Torah, the world to come, and Eretz Yisrael. And it's kind of like in a section of the Gemara that's talking about Yisurim. It's all talking about hardships. You see that, like, those kind of 3 things, like Torah, is no way you're going to really get deep in Torah without going through some hardships. There's no way you're getting to the world to come without hardships. And it's impossible to stay in the land of Israel without hardships, but this is the exact test. If you know the hardships are part of the acquisition of the land, then you're able to get through them and to stay in the land and to stay here rooted in Eretz Yisrael and make it through that test.
It's like somebody who, let's say, would come, someone has a dream to be a great athlete, for example, on the Olympic level. And in theory, they have the potential. It's not that they're too short or too weak for that accomplishment. They have what it takes, but they haven't yet gone through the training, the discipline, and they haven't become an athlete, right? So it comes the coach and sees in the potential and says, I invite you, I will train you, and I will make you into an Olympic gold medalist. What is going to come next? A lot of suffering, a lot of pain, a lot of difficulty, a lot of sweat, a lot of nights that you're rolling in bed because every muscle in your body aches. But eventually, you become a different person. You become that athlete. And at that time, it's the best thing you ever did in your life. And it's all due to that person who made you work hard. It's the same thing with Eretz Yisrael. Ein Eretz Yisrael nitneh be asurin, or Eretz Yisrael nitneh be asurin. It means that it's a spiritual upgrade. It's an aliyah. It's like training to become an Olympian. Not everyone should or needs to become an Olympian. If their main priority in life is to be comfortable and to have a very organized and comfortable life, it's very predictable. This might be the thing for them to come to the land of Israel, because it is challenging and it requires you to go through a change from the inside out in order to be absorbed by the land.
For sure.
But that being said, it's the best thing you can possibly do, and I believe every Jew can do it. But they have to be ready for what they're getting themselves into.
It's amazing. So, you recently started a new series. You've been a tour guide in Israel, focusing on the places that are mentioned in Tanach for many, many years already. And now you've started this new series of visiting these places. And it's kind of like, I'm going to obviously give you the floor to explain it and the vision behind it and what your goals are for it in the future. But from just the experience of watching it, it's a very interesting thing that hasn't been done before. I know it's like kind of combining virtual tours with a show, with like learning, deep learning for bringing Hasidus, like walking through the letters, everything together. And it's really, really interesting platform. I'm going to hand it over to you now. If you could just like break down what led to this project, what's it's called, where can people find it, and what are the plans in the future?
The project is called Walking Tanach, Tanach, Tanach. If you Google it, you'll find it. The project is what it is it's a series of videos. Right now, there 2 have been published. The 3rd one is in editing and will be out in the coming weeks. And we have at least 3 more planned.
Right? Samson and Elijah and Eliyahu, right? Shimshon and Eliyahu.
Episode 1 is Samson, or in Hebrew Shimshon. Episode 2 is about the prophet Elijah, or in Hebrew Eliyahu Hanavi. Your Hebrew name is Eliyahu, right?
Correct.
Okay. And episode 3, which hasn't been released but is being in editing, is about David and Goliath. And I think it's to be the best one so far. Actually, I just got an early cut of it to, we're working through what we're putting in, what we're leaving out, and it's looking really good. And the concept is that we go to the sites where the stories in the Bible happen. We go there. And I'm a tour guide. I do my thing. I explain where we're standing and what happened here. And then along with my friends Ephraim and Raphael, who you introduced me to, thank you very much. That was a really great help to me, and he's unbelievable. So together with my friends Ephraim and Raphael, we go to these places. I explain to them what we're seeing. We read the verses that happen in that place, and then we discuss what insight do we get. And my hope is, and I think that's what we're finding, that when you visit these places, you get insights that cannot be gained through any other kind of commentary or just through studying the text itself. And I think that just one more point, I think that there's a reason why the Tanach gives us so much geographical information. All throughout the Torah and the Nevi'im and the Ketuvim, you have names of places, names of roads. He walked from here to there. It took this many days. He stopped next to this tree or that little stone or that landmark. And I know, ever since I was a child and I started to read the Tanakh, I sort of wondered to myself, is this a storybook? Is this a guidebook? Is this a book of religious teachings and morals? And I never at first really understood what it's all about. But what was clear to me is that if I would go there and see those places, maybe I would understand why the Tanakh tells us the names of those places. So I've always wanted to go to those places, and that's why I became a tour guide, so that I could study those places and visit them. And indeed, when you visit those places, you gain insights. Some of the insights are actual changes in how you understand the story. Sometimes going there makes you understand the story is not how it sounds without having gone there. And sometimes it's just a sort of energy or something that's much harder to put your fingers on. And we try in the videos to give a little bit of both of those things to the people who are watching, both by explaining what we've learned by going there, but through what Raphael does. Raphael is the filmmaker. He's the one who's doing the filming, but he also comes on in the discussions. He takes a lot of what we call B-roll, side footage of the flowers, of the water, of the plants, of the sky, of the birds, and puts it in such a way that I hope that some of that energy of the land can come through the screen to the people. Obviously, there's nothing which replaces going for yourself, but I hope that some of that comes through.
It definitely does. It's well done. And you can also see the improvement from episode to episode. There's only been 2 so far, but I'm excited for this third one that you're saying. David Melech is obviously amazing. Traveling Eretz Yisrael is a very, very, very unique experience. There's a lot of people that say every 2 steps in the land of Israel is a mitzvah from the Torah, a biblical commandment. I don't know what your opinion on that is, but
who am I to have an opinion? This is great people but it's certainly worthwhile. I don't know if it's technically counted in the 613 or not. There are different opinions about that, but it's certainly worthwhile. It uplifts you spiritually.
It is definitely a spiritual experience, and even now, like I'm sitting right now, right outside. This is the wall behind me, and the other side of this window is the Alshech Kadosh, the Alshech synagogue, which is from the 1600s, from the 1500s, 16th century, and it's old, but what you're dealing with locations that some of them are 3,000 years old, and we still have a masoret of how we have them. And I heard yesterday, I saw a video yesterday of a woman with the Rebbe. She was talking about her experience with the Rebbe, and she said, what's the difference between our religion and other religions that have had revelations and everything else? So the Rebbe answered her with explaining about George Washington, how no one alive now has met George Washington, but we know about him and we know where he lived, and we know, like when he died, and we know all this information, but it was passed down from the previous generations 300 years ago that gave us this information now. And then he brought some other person, some magician or something like that was known, but like no one knew about this person. Where did he live? Did he really live? What was it? What was the story? Like, but there's stories about him, but we don't know really concrete evidence of his existence. So the Rebbe was saying, like, we're just like the George Washington side, just over a longer time, like our fathers and their fathers and their fathers and their fathers, and like they all know this very detailed information, like you said in the Tanach, of locations and things like that. But how important is it for a Jew to actually have this connection to the land of Israel? Obviously, you're providing for the whole entire world, Jewish and non-Jewish people, access to at least get it virtually. But how much should a Jew across the world, no matter what age they are, how much should they be investing in coming here and experiencing firsthand?
It's a hard question to answer. I'm sort of torn, actually. You might expect me to say, yeah, everyone should come to Israel and come tour and all that. I'm a tour guide, and obviously part of my livelihood comes from guiding people's tours. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, I firmly believe, and that's what the Lubavitcher Rebbe said, that the land of Israel is not a place for vacations and tours. I firmly believe it. The land of Israel is a place to come to be spiritually uplifted. And when tourists contact me and I get the sense that they're just coming because there's more kosher restaurants here than in Brooklyn, and because there's nice separate beaches, and they can have a tourism experience maybe that's just easier from a point of view of a religious Jew, I always I refer those tours out to other people. My goal as a tour guide is to show people the land of Israel the way it is in the Tanach, the way it is in the Jewish sources, in order to gain deeper understanding, deeper connection to the land. And if someone's coming to do that, I think it's priceless. I think it's priceless. I have a tour coming up this week where I'm taking a Jewish family. And one of the places that we're going to is the place where Avraham Avinu, Abraham, stood and argued with God over the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And we're going to stand in that place, and the same place where he escorted the three angels that came to visit him and tell him he's going to have his son, Yitzchak. So, to me, for those children who are Jewish children from Brooklyn, who are learning in a cheder in Brooklyn in Yiddish, and they learn this story, they live this story, it's very real to them as children.
They can sing it.
It's real like a fantasy. It's real like a fairy tale is real, like Lahavdil, you have children who Spider-Man is real to them or something like that. It's real to them, but now it's going to be real in a concrete way. They're going to never be able to read that story again without being able to picture the location, the smell in the air, the environment, and it just changes something.
So definitely something, according to that people should come see, but it has to be the right mindset, right? It has to be the right mindset. My dad, it's a sad situation. My dad always famously said, there's a reason that we don't have control of Har HaBayit, because if we would, it would be a tourist attraction site, and things that happen there that were very bad things would happen there. Let's say not the proper kavod of the place.
That could be possible. I hope that it's not true. I hope that if we had the control of Har HaBayit, that we would do what we need to do. We would try to build the temple and bring the Para Aduma and go there b'kedusha v'tahara and do everything we're supposed to. I hope that that's the case. But and I hope it will be very soon. And I hope the Mashiach will come and make it happen, whether we get our act in order or not. But at the same time, we have to understand the great responsibility that we have, the Jewish people as a nation of priests and a holy people, to be a light into the world and to step up to our role. We have infinite potential to light up the world with holiness and with knowledge of God, and to make this land into a land from which, like it says, Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah dvar Hashem Yerushalayim, that the Torah goes out from Zion and the Word of God from Jerusalem. We have the ability to make that happen. And we have that ability through, each individual has that ability through social media, through what we're doing right here, through what you, Elio, are doing now with the Alshech Academy that I'm super impressed with. And I'm jealous of you that you get this zchut to sit in the place where the holy Rav Alshech sat and studied Torah and taught Torah and prayed, and that you get to sit from there and teach Torah to people all over the world. And we have to do that. We have to know that responsibility. And when we do that, then we're like the good Meraglim, because the good Meraglim, Yoshua and Caleb, said, Yachol Nuchala. Yes, it's a challenge, but it's a good land, and we can do it if we step up to the plate. The other Meraglim said, no, it will consume us, it will eat us up, we're nothing, it's too much for us, it's too big for us. So I don't want to say it's too big for us, because if it was too big for us, God wouldn't offer it to us. The fact that God offers it to us and makes it a mitzvah to be here means that we do have that ability, but if we approach it before we're ready, it's going to be counterproductive. If somebody says, God wants you to put on tefillin, so I get to put on tefillin before I get dressed without my clothes on, or God forbid in the bathroom, it's a problem. You have to first get dressed, wash your hands, and then put on the tefillin. And then you can expect the mitzvah to do what it's supposed to do. I don't know if that's a perfect metaphor, but it's something in that direction. You want to come to Eretz Yisrael, you should come to Eretz Yisrael. You must come to Eretz Yisrael. But you can't just throw yourself here without any preparation and without being prepared to receive it, to receive what it has to offer. But I want to tell you something before we talk any more about this. I want to say something about what you're doing at the Alshech Academy, because I watched about half of the videos that you put up so far, or listened to them while I'm doing other things, and I know how frustrating it can be when you start out with something new.
While you're talking, I'm just going to show the people inside the actual Alshech. Go ahead.
Do you have reception in there okay? So he's taking us into the Alshech shul and Tzfat, where they do the videos of the Alshech Academy, which is unbelievable. Rabbi Alshech was one of the great Torah commentators who has a commentary on the Torah, a great Kabbalist who lived in Tzfat hundreds of years ago, and that's the room where he prayed and taught Torah. And now Elio has started a YouTube channel where they bring you Torah ideas straight from some of the English-speaking Torah teachers in Tzfat, Elio included, and others, right from that room, which to me, to be able to sit there and make that place once again into a source of spreading Torah to the world, it's unbelievable. But I wanted to say that when you start a YouTube channel, this is something you and I have in common with what we're doing, which is we're both, today it's very popular to do super short, super fast, super superficial stuff, just to get
short clickbait,
get eyes, get views, get retention. If you could get someone to watch a 30-second video twice, so you have a 200% retention rate. But if it's a 20-minute video and they only watch 10 minutes, and it's a 50% retention rate, and then your videos don't do well, we have to know that this is about quality. It's not about quantity. Every person who watches an entire class on Kabbalah or on the Torah portion or studying the Tanach or things like that, on something like the Alshech Academy, and watches for an hour, that is a huge revolution that you make in one person. And it's better to make a revolution in one person than to get 1 million people to click and then scroll and it not change anything because you did something controversial or something that catches people's eye. Gimmicky, yeah. So maybe sometimes I do it too. We have to put up some short gimmicky things, maybe to get people to stop, hopefully, and look at the longer stuff we're doing. But when all is said and done, I think we're going to see this coming generation that's coming up is going to start to get sick of all the clickbait and all the gimmicky stuff, and they're going to want stuff that's real and authentic. And that's what we have to create now.
And that's one. Thank you, first things first, for the kind words. And I would like to talk a little bit more about Alshech Academy, just to let people know what exactly is going on. Just to continue on what you were saying, I think it's definitely true. And another side of that, especially as content creators, is that you can so easily get caught up in these numbers of how many views did I get, and how am I doing? Is my channel growing? Is it declining? Whatever it is. But in the end of the day, the things that give us the most chiyut, the things that give us the most vitality and the ability to continue, besides the fact that we're doing what Hashem wants, right? That we're spreading His Torah, and we're connecting people to Him and to themselves, is the messages. Like you said, one person that watches a full shiur, that's all you need. You know, like you had a Jew connect to Hashem for 30 minutes, an hour, and now they're inspired to be better. What more do you need? You need another 300 numbers on 4 digits on the views, whatever it is. You know, it's not really about that. But yeah, thank you for bringing up the Alshech Academy. I wasn't intending to talk about it, but since we're already on this, so just
you have to talk about it every possible opportunity.
The credit needs to be given to Shlomo Gatzi. Shlomo Gatzi is an amazing yid here in Tzfat. Oleh Hadash, also connections to Africa and to England, and he's been praying here for a long time. He started a podcast that I was helping him to put on the internet about they're called the Parasha Deep Dive, going deep into the Parasha according to what the Alshech was bringing down, the questions of the Alshech. He was a master of thinking deeper into the Torah and trying to bring out lessons from every single letter possible, and the tone of the Torah, the approach of the Torah, everything. So he was doing this podcast for a while, doing his own, giving over what the Alshech had to say on the Parasha, and then interviewing a person every week to pair along with that. So like an interview with someone according to, based on the ideas of the Parasha, as well as his own explanation of what the Alshech is going through. And at a certain point, he just came up with this amazing idea of like, let's revive this ancient Beit Midrash of Tzfat that hasn't been learned in for many years. It wasn't even really used weekly.
I know the tour guide, I've tried to go check it out before, and it's always been locked up, you know, like you can't even get in
just
there.
When I came to make the video, a tour guide saw me walking in. He's like, please let me in, please let me in. And I said, I'm making a video in 3 minutes. In 2 minutes, you're out of here. So he's like, what? They came in, they looked, and they walked out, right? But exactly, we tried, like you said earlier, we tried to keep the sanctity of this place as it is. That's why right now I'm sitting outside and not inside. And because how holy is this place that I don't want to be sitting inside, even if it's a holy conversation like we're having. It's better to do it. So. Exactly, right? So amazing Alshech Academy idea came by Shlomo Gatzi to revive the learning here every day in a way to provide it for guys that are maybe too old for yeshiva, but not necessarily committed enough or are not able to commit enough to Kollel, and to come learn here in English, very deep Torahs, and also more simple Torahs, but Alachot of Shabbat and different esoteric Torahs. And I'm very fortunate to be part of it and to be able to teach and to learn in the Alshech Academy. For now, it's going to be every single Tuesday. We have breakfast and 4 or 5 different classes. And then on after the holidays, after Sukkot, God willing, we'll be able to make it every single day. Hopefully, we'll be able to get you up here as well for a class. All of this is accessible right now. Class. Pardon?
I want to come attend a class.
Is that the shit? I heard last week that. Wait, just to finish up. Anyway, anything you can see from this Alshech Academy is online. You can go to YouTube, youtube.com/@Alshech, ALSHECH Academy, and you have a bunch of class. It should be, but the way it's spit, I went with this.
No, you're right. I'm sorry.
Alshech.
You're right.
But I heard last week, just to connect to your humility that you express right now, right? That Aaron Cohen, how humble was it?
Very rare.
how humble was Aaron Cohen that they tell him, hey, listen, your little brother is gonna come. He's gonna become king. He's gonna take all the credit, and you're gonna do all the work. No, we don't think about it too much like this, but that's kind of what happened, right? Not obviously the diktuk and with the Ashkacha Elyon of Hashem, but it's so interesting to see that Aaron, how humble was he, and yet Moshe was even, written even more.
Yeah.
Is that Hashem. I wanted to. I don't know how much this is shayach. Maybe you can tell. You can say no. I'm completely flowing. But I wanted to ask you. Right now, we're in a time where there's a lot of turmoil in Eretz Yisrael. There's a lot of hard things going on politically. I don't want to get into the politics of it, but there's a kira. There's this tie in the nation. There's this tear in the nation between right and left. It's religious, secular, and it's hard to see. I try my best to not get involved into too much, but on the other hand, we're a nation and we're a family and we're all connected. And what we're going through is what we're going through, whether we want to pay attention to it or not. And I just wanted to see, like, maybe not to get into the politics and not to pick sides or anything, but what is a message or what is some kind of chizuk that we can take as Am Yisrael when we're going through such hard times of disconnect?
I think you already answered half of the question when you said that you try not to get too involved in it. Because I think that most of the so-called kara or terror in Am Yisrael that's happening is mostly on television. I think in the streets, people get along just fine. I think that outside of those protests, which happen every night, which it seems that those people are, compensated somehow to go night after night after night to protest, and obviously funded by somebody who has an agenda. Outside of that, I think that most of the people in this country love each other, support each other, are ready to fight for each other, ready to die for each other, are ready to help each other, and do help each other. And so I think that the answer is to have Avat Yisrael, to connect to Torah, to connect to Hashem, to connect to Am Yisrael. When all said and done, what is the only thing that unites us as a people? You have one Jew who is dark-skinned from Ethiopia, another Jew who's pale as a ghost from Ukraine or something, and another Jew who's from Morocco. And we have different cultures, we have different languages, we have different foods, we have all kinds of different backgrounds. The thing that unites us is our Torah, our connection to God. And that is true even of those Jews who consider themselves secular. They would not identify as being Jewish was it not for the fact that their parent or the great-grandparent or the great-great-grandparent were religious Jews, kept the Torah, and that's what kept our identity through 2,000 years of exile over the world. So the answer to any kind of division in the people of Israel is to strengthen our connection to the Torah, to the mitzvot, to Hashem, and to one another.
Yeah, it's a must. We have to do this. We have to connect. This is the only. I say it many times. If you remove the Torah from your existence here in the land of Israel, or as being a Jew, then you really are like everybody else in the world. You're just like any other nation. And it doesn't even make so much sense to be in the land of Israel if you're not connected to Torah, because it's a very hard place to be. The country side of it is a very, very tough place to be. Right? If you remove the sentiment of the Torah.
I don't know how tough it is. I don't think it's so tough. But again, like we said in the beginning, it depends what you're looking for in the land of Israel. If you're looking for a certain comfortable lifestyle, this is not the place you're like.
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is, if you're able to overcome to overcome your assumptions and your desires, and to commit yourself to what the land of Israel has to offer spiritually, and come here for that, then usually I find that people who do that actually also find a comfortable lifestyle here. But they have to adjust like what they're looking for. You know what I'm saying? I look at my friends who I grew up with in California, and I look at their lives, and I look at what they're going through, and their beards are all gray, and they look 20 years older than me, and they look miserable. Like, I feel bad for many of them. And their life is actually, their house is bigger, their car is cleaner and nicer, they have an easier time at the bank, and an easier time at the grocery store, and an easier time at the doctor's office, and all those things are easier, but their life is not as good. The life here is better. It's a real life. It's a life that's connected to our deepest reality, to our roots. It's more authentic. It's more healthy. It's more well balanced. So overall, I think I wouldn't say it's hard. I would say that it's...
No, it's hard if you remove the sentiment.
Real.
If you don't...
You have to be real.
Exactly. If you're trying to live like you lived in America, then it is a hard reality because it's not going to be that. And that's what I was trying to give off. But for sure, it's beautiful to live here. It's the best place in the world. I love it. I had a question. Since you're doing this Walking Tanach series, right? There's a lot of different opinions about this holy city that I'm sitting in right now. Tzfat, Kodesh, right? Is it mentioned in the Tanakh? Do we have the city? Is it ancient, or is it just some Mamluk town that that was refurbished into becoming Jewish? So I'm just really interested in what is the historic. Is there any mention of the Tanakh? Will we be seeing an episode in maybe Shem Ve'ever, Walking Tanakh?
First of all, you're talking about the cave of Shem Ve'ever in Tzfat, which is a tradition that Shem, the son of Noah, and his son Ever had a sort of academy there before the giving of the Torah, where they taught anyone who wanted to come to know the one God, and that Abraham and his sons and grandsons also spent time there, and that's where they connected to the one God and learned his ways even before the giving of the Torah. I definitely will consider doing an episode that includes the issue of Shem Ve'ever. Tzfat mentioned explicitly in the Tanakh. From what I remember, I don't remember any place that it's mentioned explicitly, although it's been a long time since I looked into it. The oldest place that I know for sure that Tzfat is mentioned, off the top of my head, if I'm wrong, correct me, but off the top of my head, the oldest place where Tzfat is mentioned is actually in the Slichot. And these Slichot date back to the time around shortly after the destruction of the Bar Kokhba revolt, not the destruction, but the failure that we had in the Bar Kokhba revolt to push the Romans out, which was sort of like a miniature Holocaust. It wasn't really that miniature because percentage-wise, maybe it was worse than the Holocaust as far as the amount of Jews who were killed, even though the numbers were probably smaller in absolute terms. And in the Slichot, the penitential prayers that we say on Tisha B'Av, we mourn different events that happened throughout Jewish history, including the destruction of the first temple, destruction of the second temple, the Meraglim, which is very apt to what we're talking about, the Spies. Also, we mourn that on Tisha B'Av, and actually every year on the anniversary of when the Meraglim brought their report on Tisha B'Av, on the 9th of Av, a portion of the people would die. And until over the 40 years, everyone who of that generation who had to die died. And then when they saw that no one else died, they knew that the decree is over and they were able to enter the land of Israel. But in the Slichot, which we say on Tisha B'Av, there is one of the prayers there goes through 24 cities in the Galilee, and it names them, and each one it names which family of the 24 guards, mishmarot of the Kohanim, the priests who served in the temple, which family lived in that city. Because actually after the temple was destroyed, the 24 families of the priestly caste moved north to the Galilee because the Romans prohibited them from living in the area of Jerusalem. And each family of the 24, how do you say mishmarot, in the temple,
guards.
Every month, 2 families would serve, right? So there were 24
shifts.
Shifts, there we go. The 24 shifts of the priest, and it was divided by family groups. And at the time of the temple, they would live close to Jerusalem as much as possible so that they could go there for the shift. Once the temple was destroyed and Jewish life was destroyed in the area in and around Jerusalem, all those families of Kohanim went north to the Galilee, where they were given somewhat autonomy and they were able to rebuild their lives. But what they did is they continued to keep track of the shifts, and each month when it would be the shift of a certain family, that family would be responsible for saying certain prayers and doing certain rituals that kept alive the tradition of the temple. And they continued to declare the new moon based on the Sanhedrin that would observe it, take testimony, and declare the moon before the calendar was set. and many, many other things are connected to the temple. And one of the 24 places that's listed is Tzfat. So the earliest that I can tell you off the top of my head for sure that there was a large and important Jewish presence in Tzfat is shortly after the destruction of the Second Temple. That doesn't mean there wasn't anything before that. And like you said, there's a tradition that the cave of Shem the Ever is there. There are some other traditions that place biblical events there, but I don't recall the name Tzfat being listed in the Bible anywhere by name. But I think there is one place where it says a place that some of the commentaries say that that's Tzfat. But I might be, it's been a long time since I looked into it, so I might be confusing in my mind. But certainly since the Second Temple period, there was a Jewish presence in Tzfat, and Tzfat became, that presence was destroyed during the Bar Kokhba revolt, and that's why we mourn for those 24 cities of the Kohanim that were destroyed in the Bar Kokhba revolt, because all of those cities rebelled the second time against the Romans 60-something years later under the leadership of Bar Kokhba. And those rebellions failed and were suppressed, and those Kohanim were mostly killed and exiled from those places. So we mourn the destruction of Tzfat 2,000 years ago almost. So if someone says it only started with the Crusaders, that's clearly not correct. But the next stage of Tzfat, where it came on the scene in big terms in history, was indeed in the Crusader times. The Crusaders built the big Mitsuda that you have there at the center of the old city, and from there started to build their way down the mountain. And of course, after the expulsion of Jews from Spain, the Jews came en masse to Tzfat to reestablish their Torah studies and reestablish their business. A lot of them were in the fabric industry, and Tzfat has a lot of running water in the Nachal Amud, and it was a place for business, a place for Torah study in the land of Israel, and it was close to the tomb of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who was the one who wrote the Zohar, and the Zohar was now really something that was becoming very popular in those days, so a lot of people felt very connected to it, because of course the Zohar was hidden for well over 1,000 years until it was rediscovered by Rabbi Moshe de Leon and printed and so on and so forth. So that's the story of Tzfat.
Amazing. So just want to, first things first, thank you for coming on and allowing us to have this discussion, different aspects of the land of Israel and the sanctity of the place and the Kedusha and the right mindset when coming here and spending time here. I wanted to give you the opportunity, if you have a message for anybody else, for anybody in the world there, message for me, message for anybody, of how to improve their connection maybe to Eretz Yisrael, or to make it their own Eretz Yisrael. You know, the Tzaddikim, the Hasidish Tzaddikim said that a person can make Eretz Yisrael wherever they are, right? So, I don't know, B'chavod, if you have anything to share with the people.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I could talk with you all day. It's a pleasure. And God should bless you for what you're doing with spreading the light of the Torah of Israel, the God of Israel, the land of Israel, to people all over the world. And I would say to people, Eretz Israel is just, it's the same as the Torah, it's the same as God, it's something holy, it's something spiritual. And if we want to uplift ourselves and connect to it, we can and we should. And it will add to our life light and holiness and meaning and true joy. So I wish that everyone here should have aliyah, each one according to their place and their situation. And the important thing is that we're moving up. So it's not always about where we arrive, because we will ultimately arrive wherever God intends us to arrive, but it's about the direction we're facing and the trajectory that we're on. So we should all move up. Aliyah.
Amen, amen. Much success with your show, Walking Tanach, and everything else that you're doing. I'm definitely following it, and in the middle now of Eliyahu, learning a little bit more about my namesake, and enjoying it very much. So, Baruch and everything you're doing. Thank you again, Aaron, and B'ezrat Hashem, we'll be able to see each other soon, hopefully.
Amen, amen. Thank you very much, Elio. Have a great day.
Have a good one.
God bless.